1 2 1 2. One two one two. Welcome back, everybody, to another season here for the Purple Sector Formula One League as you join us here tonight for the opening round of Season 15. And we're here tonight at the Shanghai International Circuit for the Chinese Grand Prix for what's going to be a slightly shorter season at the Purple Sector F1 League to what we're used to. The last few seasons, they've done the full 24 races on the F1 calendar. For this season, they scaled it down to just 1 day a week, so it's now just Tuesday nights that Purple Sector are going to be running. It'll be a 14-round season, so it will actually take slightly longer than usual. It will be a 2-week longer season, but only one race per week, which is probably going to be a good thing because obviously then gives drivers more practice time, gives everyone's going to have a bit more of an affinity with the with each circuit. And I think overall it'll probably be I think it'll be better. But here we are then. So drivers are just coming out onto the track for their first out laps here of the season. So to quickly run you through who's going to be driving what this season. We've got Matty Pitt lining up in a Mercedes alongside T, although T not with us here for tonight by the looks of it, at least not at the moment. But Matty Pitt, the champion from 4 seasons ago in season 11, is going to be in the Mercedes, which has been for a number of seasons now. In the McLaren, you've got Scott and Trauger. Scott there, who's in previous seasons he's been a real contender, up near the top of the leaderboard in most of the races. Last season, I don't know, didn't really sort of really get into any sort of momentum. Really, he had moments. Spa was a standout. Obviously, whenever it rains, you can always count on Scott being up there. But I don't know, just the previous seasons that I've seen Scott racing, he really did do a lot more than last season. But who knows? Maybe this season could be a return to form for him. We've got Drauger alongside Scott, and Drauger's been racing here in Purple Sector now for quite a while in the McLaren this season, so that'll be interesting. We got the runner-up in the championship from 2 seasons ago. Justify was the championship contender, took it down to the final race of the season with Clen at the Abu Dhabi season finale in season 13. He is back for this season by the looks of it, which is great to see, in the Aston Martin alongside Mango, who will be joining him in the green cars. Mango also not here this week, unfortunately. And then we've got Street Boy and Smart Pleasure driving in the Williams. Smart Pleasure, a new driver to the Purple Sector F1 League. Haven't seen him before, but be exciting to see how he gets on here on what's going to be the first race of his Purple Sector career. And then Other Williams, a familiar face there of Street Boy, who last season moved from Ferrari to Haas, and this time around has gone for the legendary British manufacturer Williams team. So that's going to be an interesting one. And then we've got Rexy Boy and John in the Ferrari. John being signed by the Tifosi for this season, alongside Rexy Boy, who's been much like Charles Leclerc, really, the long-suffering incumbent of that seat. Although, having said that, Rexy Boy, a big Lewis Hamilton fan, on the driver cards on the Purple Sector Discord, he's got the Hamilton avatar, and also you can tell his helmet is a spitting image of Lewis Hamilton's. So yeah, very clearly supposed to be a replica of Lewis Hamilton's in real life F1 helmet. And then we've got Clen and White Shadow in the Visa Cash App team. So Clen, the champion, the 2-time champion, who's just got into third place there with that latest lap of his. Clen in the one of the V carbs, and White Shadow in the other one. And then we've got G.C. and C-Mac in the Red Bull team. G.C. sticking with Red Bull for this season, as is C-Mac actually. Both of those two staying with the same team. And Truckee, currently the only driver in the Haas team at the moment, but only 15 drivers signed up to the league at this point. Obviously it's the first round of the season, so still plenty of time to get other drivers involved in the league. And hopefully we can fill up the grid over the course of this season here at Purple Sector, because we've seen full grids here before, and we want to see the league thriving, obviously. It gives me more to cover, more to commentate on, and more exciting for the drivers out there as well. But Matty Pitt currently setting the fastest time here in the early stage of this qualifying session, currently 3/10 ahead of Scott in second place. Rexy Boy is currently in third place at the moment, 3/10 off for the provisional pole time. You've got Clen, who's just been pushed down the leaderboard there because Justify has gone fastest by 3/10, so not just by a whisker, he's absolutely blitzed it there as Justify. And an interesting and notable absentee for this season is Badman, last season's champion. I'm not sure. I think he was told he'd have to be dropping assists in order to continue racing for this season. Maybe he's realised that racing isn't as fun when you have to race without assists. I don't know what the whole reason is. I don't know if there's any drama or if he's just decided he doesn't want to race anymore. Who knows? But ultimately the reigning champion not with us here for this season, but we do have 2 former champions at least, and I'm not sure if there are any others other than Matty and Clen, but they're the 2 that I know are definitely former champions here of Purple Sector. Matty season 11 and Clen season 12 and 13. But Justify, a driver who I'm sure will be loving to add his name to that illustrious list of drivers who've got the Purple Sector Formula 1 League Championship. Obviously came very close 2 seasons ago and took it down to the final round in Abu Dhabi, where Clen ultimately wrapped it up. But As it stands here in the early stages of the session, it's Justify currently setting the fastest time. G.C. saying, amazing to have you back live, mate. Thank you very much, mate. Yeah, I'm glad to be doing it live. Obviously, it saves me having to upload it afterwards. And I think also it's good to have it on in the background as well. So I know some people like listening to it. I mean, for myself, whenever I was racing, I'd never have the stream on in the background. It was too distracting, and if I heard my name, I'd always end up binning it. But hey, for some people it makes a bit of an atmosphere. But yeah, I can't stand it personally. But so far, G.C. currently in third place in this session, currently half a second off for that provisional pole time. Scott's just coming out onto the track to do another run here, as we're kind of, I think, on a second runs of the session at this point. So Justify currently in the pits, having done the fastest time so far. Matty Pitt on an out lap. G.C. I think is on an in lap. Scott's on an out lap. Rexy Boy currently on a flying lap here, 10th up through the middle sector. A bit deep there into the hairpin. Cam saying big up Street Boy. And James Gerald Henry saying Scott has sold his soul to the devil by moving to McLaren. He moved to McLaren mid-season last season, I'm pretty sure, James. I think, yeah, he sold his soul to the devil a long time ago, to be fair. Yeah. I mean, yeah, obviously we don't really want to go into what selling your soul to the devil consists of. Let's just hope that Scott's air miles haven't been racking up to any undisclosed locations. But anyway, we've got Justify coming back out onto the track, the provisional pole sitter, ready to have another crack at this Shanghai International Circuit. Matty Pitt just coming around to start a flying lap in a second. Let's jump on board here with Matty, the former champion and former winner around this track as well, actually. I remember he has definitely won around this track before. I remember 2 or 3 seasons ago. And he's coming through this long right-hander, the first corner of the lap. And currently Matty Pitt is going to be trying to find those 0.3 of a second which he needs in order to displace Justify at the top of the leaderboard. Top right-hand corner tells us where he is in relation to his previous best lap time. He's currently 0.1 of a second up through the first sector. So doing a solid job here in this first part of the lap. G.C. also on a lap coming through the middle sector as well. And Scott is just coming through the first sector as well. Scott is just over 1/10 up to the first sector. But his current best time is 6/10 off for the fastest time. So he's got work to do at the moment as Scott. Matty coming through the middle sector. Oh, tell you what, he's 3/10 up here through the middle sector. So if Matty can just find another 10th here through this final sector, then he will be putting it on provisional pole here for this Chinese Grand Prix tonight for the season open for season 15 here at Purple Sector. As he comes down the long back straight here, does Matty Pitt. Now let's see how he negotiates the braking zone here into the hairpin. It's a maker or a breaker, this one. Look, it hooks it up very, very nicely there. Carries plenty of speed. And here he comes in into the final corner now. Matty Pitt, absolutely beautifully negotiated there through that final corner. Up towards the line comes Matty, and it's P1 there. Not by much, but he does it by enough. He improved his time there by 3.5 tenths and puts himself ahead of Justify for the time being, as Justify is finding time in the first sector though. He's already 2.5 tenths up on his personal best and looking on course for a 1:32 at the moment. G.C. in the pits. We've got Scott coming out on the final corner, and he improves his time considerably, but I think it was an invalid lap time because his time hasn't changed on the leaderboard. So he went half a second quicker, but must have done it outside of track limits there. That time would have put him third ahead of G.C. if it hadn't been invalid. So that'll be reassuring for Scott. Obviously, if he didn't gain any time from that, then that'll be reassuring to him. He'll know that it's definitely there for the taking. But at the moment, still in 4th place. G.C. in the pits in 3rd place. Justify finding time through the middle sector, although lost a bit actually in the middle sector. Half a tenth down through the middle, but he was 2.5 tenths up through the first sector. So Justify still up on his personal best. And is he going to retake provisional pole away from Matty Pitt? As here he comes in through the final corner now. And Justify looking to be on a pretty good lap here. I think this is going to be pole position. It is going to be pole position by 0.3 of a second. So Justify a decisive margin here at the top of the leaderboard so far. I wonder what Clen's got in the locker here. Currently in 7th at the moment. Here he comes then out of the final corner now. Clen over the line. P3 for Clen. P3 for Clen. I'll tell you what, he's about 0.8 off of Justify at the moment. So definitely with work to do at the moment, but is up there at the sharp end. But it definitely looks like Justify and Matty Pitt are the ones to beat here tonight, has to be said. So Scott into the pit at the end of this run. We've got Rexy Boy here coming through the final, or the hairpin, down towards the final corner now. What is Rexy Boy able to do? Here we come then through the final corner. Oh, was a little bit hesitant there going through that final corner. Still goes P3 though. A very solid time there from the Ferrari driver. G.C. The driver on the offbeat here tonight with his flying laps is going for he's electing for a quiet circuit. So looking to try and get some clean air and do a lap where there's not going to be too much disruption, which is a smart move, I got to say. The only downside of it is that if you are doing that, then you're going to not be able to maximise the track conditions, because you're going to be doing your final flying lap maybe a minute or two before everyone else. I mean, it makes probably about not even 1/10 of a second of a difference, but it's fractions of a second can make the difference between pole and second row. So, but at the moment, G.C. here starting what's probably going to be his final flying lap of the session. Just double check the mic's still plugged in. Yeah, we're still good. But G.C. here coming towards the end of the first sector, currently P5. And he's nearly 3/10 down to the first sector. So as it stands, G.C. not going to be improving here. Scott's retired from the session, so it's going to be P6 at best for Scott. So G.C. currently not doing the business here through the first part of the lap. Now needs to absolutely ace these final 2 sectors here to even have a chance of improving his lap time. He's only 0.04 of a second off of Clen, so he doesn't need to improve his lap by much to get ahead. Although saying that, we have got raindrops falling here, so potentially that's going to now take away people's chances of improving here in this session. We've seen a couple of drivers retiring. Maybe it's because of that rain, and maybe a lack of belief that there's going to be any sort of progress in these final minutes of the session with the rain starting to fall. But G.C. coming down the long back straight. Justify the provisional pole sitter has thrown in the towel. That should tell you everything. I think more than likely we're going to see everyone throw in the towel before we get to the checkered flag here in this qualifying session. White Shadow and Street Boy are out there. We're watching G.C. coming towards the end of the lap. Most of his lap was done in dry conditions, but towards the end of it, the rain has definitely fallen, and G.C. is into the pits. Obviously the corner where Hamilton very famously put it into the gravel in conditions which were not dissimilar to this, but obviously with tyres that are considerably fresher than what Hamilton had back in 2007. But I think that's going to be that. I think that's going to be all she wrote here for this qualifying session here for the opening round of the Purple Sector Season 15. So Justify will be taking the first pole position and will be the driver who starts at the front for the opening Grand Prix. The runner-up in the championship from season 13, kicking things off very nicely indeed. Smart Pleasure is out there on the intermediate tyres, so I assume he's going to be going for a bit of practice. I don't know what the weather conditions we're expecting for the Grand Prix, but if we're expecting wet weather, then it's a smart move from Smart Pleasure to be getting out there and putting some laps in. But if we're not expecting rain, it's pretty much a waste of time, to be perfectly honest with you. But Clen's also gone out there on inters, so I think it's looking like we might have some wet weather for the race on the radar.
So then, the formation lap is underway here in China. This circuit has mixed driver reactions.
So there we are then, everybody, getting ready to go racing here for the first time here in season 15 here at the Purple Sector Formula 1 League. We've Justify, the runner-up from 2 seasons ago, is going to be getting us underway here. He will take the lights at the front of the grid, with former champion Matty Pitt alongside him, Rexy Boy, the reliable Ferrari talisman, in 3rd place, with the 2-time former champion Glenn alongside him on the 2nd row. Here we go then, lining up on the grid, and we are moments away from the start of season 15 here at Purple Sector. Here we go then, lights are on at the head of the grid. We're moments away from the start of the Chinese Grand Prix here for season 15, and Glenn has already got a jump start here, and he's got a drive-through penalty. That is a disaster of a start for Glenn's season, as we can see him leading into turn 1, but the main pack there, we've got Matty Pitt on the inside of Justify there, getting a little bit wide and a bit out of shape there. Rexy Boy getting up the inside of him, and Justify could be vulnerable here, as you see the Red Bull and the McLaren there of G.C. and Scott there going around him as well. So Justify down to P6 here. Obviously one of those positions he'll get back, because Glenn jumped the start massively there, but a chaotic start here for 2 drivers, obviously for Glenn, who jumped the start, and Justify, who's lost an absolute load of places here, as Scott's moved up ahead of G.C. up into 4th place here on this opening lap. So Scott's done a good job there of gaining that position, but wow, I mean, Clem, what on earth was going on there? Clearly jumped the gun, and well, that's not the way he wanted his season to start off, in a season where he's be looking to try and regain his title, which he obviously won twice, 2 and 3 seasons ago. But that's not what Clem would have needed to start things off here this season. He's gone a bit wide there as well. Matty Pitt is going to look to try and seize on that, and is on the inside here, making that move back up into the lead of the race here as they come down towards the hairpin. So Matty Pitt takes the lead here off of Glenn. We've got Rexy Boy there in the background, ahead of Scott, followed by G.C. as we've got Justify there looking to the inside of G.C. into the hairpin, but a little bit too far away there going into the corner. As in the background there, we've got John there moving ahead of Smart Pleasure up into P11. And as Glenn here is coming to the pits at the end of the first lap, obviously no surprise there to get that drive-through penalty done and out of the way. Matty Pitt there leading by about a second ahead of Rexy Boy at the moment as they come into turn 1. So Matty settling into a bit of a rhythm here out the front. Smart Pleasure and John battling over P10 at the moment. And Rexy Boy trying to cling to the back of Matty at the moment, gap about a second. If he can gain a couple of tenths, he'll be comfortably within DRS here of the race leader, but Matty trying to break that gap in these early stages of the race. Matty trying to... So the leaders then coming down the little straight, which leads into the final sector of the lap. Scott is coming under a bit of pressure here from Justify. They managed to, well, not put a really good pulling up to G.C. G.C. still very much there in that fight for 3rd place, although it's just lost a bit of time coming through this section of the track. Drauger here closing up onto the back of the Red Bull, and Trucky's right with them as well here. So this is a 3-way battle here for P5. That's here they come then into the hairpin. So here goes Drauger looking up the inside of G.C. and he's made that move there beautifully there as Drauger. As now G.C. has lost out also to Trucky as well. So Trucky there gaining a place, and Trucky up into P6 as a result of that one. So G.C. there losing a couple of places there towards the end of the lap, lap 2. So that obviously promotes Drauger and Trucky up a position each. Justify here still attacking on the back of Scott at the moment in that fight for 3rd place. Obviously Justify, the pole sitter in qualifying, but had that absolutely horrendous start, and found himself down in P6 into turn 1. Has gained 2 of those places back so far, and is looking to try and get himself into the podium position. So you can see the leader's not too far ahead Rexy Boy's keeping Matty Pitt honest out the front as well. Less than a second separating the 2 leaders at this point. But this is the battle for third place. Looking a little bit hotter than what we're seeing between the 2 leaders at the moment. As Justify looking to pile the pressure here on the back of the McLaren driver of Scott. So here comes Rexy Boy then, on the back of Matty Pitt with DRS and a slipstream. Here he comes then, down towards the end of the long straight, looking to the inside into the hairpin, and Rexy Boy with great straight line speed there, looking to the inside. Matty though trying to hang it around the outside with better momentum there, and holds on to the lead for the time being. But for how much longer is he going to be able to keep this Ferrari at bay, because Rexy Boy is knocking on the door in these early stages of the race. End of lap 3, Matty Pitt for the time being survives with the race lead, but if these two battle, it's going to bring these two into play a little bit. Justify's got DRS on Scott going towards turn 1, but Scott's got that one held on to for now, looking pretty comfortable there into turn 1. G.C. still waiting in the wings behind Truckee at this moment in time. Rexy Boy, I tell you what, really upping the tempo here on the back of Matty right now. Less than half a second separating them as they're coming into the hairpin here in the middle sector. Rexy Boy's the driver who had a very strong outing in the final race of the season at Abu Dhabi, and that sort of late season momentum, he'd be looking to try and kick on and really cash in on that in the early part here of season 15, as he is keeping Matty Pitt on his toes at the moment. He's doing a brilliant job so far, is Rexy Boy. But these two battling is kind of allowing Scott and Justify to close the gap, and we could be quite quickly looking at a 4-way battle for the lead here. But Justify's first got to negotiate Scott, as Scott's just dropped out of DRS there on Rexy Boy, and we've got Rexy Boy here once again. Got to run on Matty Pitt down towards the hairpin. This time he gets it done way before we get to the corner, and Rexy Boy takes the lead of the Chinese Grand Prix here at Purple Sector. Justify still behind Scott at the moment as they come out of the hairpin. But there is your new race leader, Rexy Boy. What can Matty do? Can he get the run coming out the front corner? Rexy Boy didn't get a good exit at all. And Matty Pitt, surely with the immediate reply, Rexy Boy has got great straight line speed. Despite Matty having DRS, he could barely get the move done there into turn 1. He just about manages to get around him going through into the first corner. But I tell you what, Rexy Boy was quite close there to being up on his inside there. Matty Pitt only just got clear of him before the braking zone. So yeah, I tell you what, Rexy Boy's got good straight line speed. And if Justify still tucks in behind Scott for the time being, this is now a 4-way battle for the lead as it continues to rage on here tonight at Shanghai. As G.C.'s picked up a 3-second penalty in his early stages as well, so that's not going to be boding well for him at such an early point in the race. Truckee trying to keep tabs with Drago at the moment. The gap just under a second. G.C. just about clinging to the coattails of these two as well. But this is the battle for the lead of the race. Matty, Rexy Boy, Scott and Justify here currently running 4 in a line as they come down the back straight. And in the background you've got that battle for P5 between Drago, Truckee and G.C. in the distance. But here comes Matty Pitt. Looks to the outside here on Rexy Boy. Rexy Boy covers that inside line. Now Matty's going to go for a switch back here. Down towards the final corner. Matty will get DRS down the main straight here on the Ferrari once again. Justify still having to tuck in behind Scott, because Scott's got the DRS on these two ahead of him. Matty now with DRS down the straight again is just going to nip past him into turn 1 and gets around the outside there. Rexy Boy has managed to just about stay ahead. No, he hasn't. He made a mistake there. Rexy Boy. Rexy Boy's had a spin. Rexy Boy's had a spin there through turn 1 and has lost out there to, well, obviously lost out to Scott and Justify. But he's also fallen behind Drago, G.C. and Truckee. So Rexy Boy there struggling to regain control of that car after that spin. And he's down to 7th place. What a disaster. After such a promising start to the race. It's kind of gone a little bit Pete Tong for him there. So Rexy Boy now down the order with a lot of work to do here. So that gives Matty the lead, and he's got a 2-second gap over Scott. I mean, I wonder if Scott was impeded there by the Ferrari as he was losing it there through turn 1, but Scott a little way behind Matty as Justify tried to continue to put the pressure here on Scott. And the thing is, now that Scott hasn't got DRS, it's going to give Justify almost a free punch, if you like, on Scott, and Justify should get this one done. Going down to the hairpin here, he's within half a second. I'm going to have DRS and slipstream, saying that Scott got a lovely exit there out of that corner, and Justify might have just left himself with too much to do here coming down towards the hairpin. Here we go, DRS and slipstream too far away, and Scott's going to comfortably hold on to that one for the time being. Justify looking very confident there through the slow corners. Let's see what sort of exit he can get out of the final corner. Yeah, he's not really close enough on Scott at the moment. So Scott looking okay for the time being in P2. And actually, I'll tell you what, these two have actually really gained on Matty over that sort of half a lap or so. So Matty put the race leader, but on the medium tyres, with Scott and Justify on the hards, they're definitely going to be in an advantageous position. Street Boy's put the softs on. He came into the pits quite early. It's not like Street Boy to come in for an early pit stop. He's the one who usually goes half the race on one set of, well, he usually does about 2/3 of the race on a set of hards, and then the other third on a set of mediums. So leaders here coming down the little straight into the final sector once again. Matty, Scott and Justify here, your top three. A few seconds here clear of Draga, running in 4th place. There's G.C. and Trucky. Rexy Boy still sticking to the back of these guys quite nicely at the moment, sticking to the task quite well, it has to be said. Once again, the 3 leaders here down towards that hairpin, but doesn't look like anybody's really... Oh, I'll tell you what, Scott has got fantastic speed there going down towards the hairpin. Matty's going to keep himself there on the inside and managed to get a decent enough exit out of the hairpin. Keeps on to that one for the time being. Scott, though, looked like he might have for a second had that one done there as he went around the outside of the hairpin, but just didn't have the momentum coming out of the corner. He's got more DRS, though, down the straight, and this time Scott does get that move done, and Scott moves through into the lead of the race here on lap 8. So Matty, who's been in the lead battle now for a number of laps, now has a new driver staking a claim for this one. We got Rexy Boy into the pits here at the end of lap 7 for a set of hard tyres. I wonder if he's going to try and go to the end of the race from here, 21 laps from the end, as we've got Rexy Boy and Clen are both into the pits as well, and Clen coming in for his first stop, getting those medium tyres off after a disastrous start to the race where he ended up getting a drive-through penalty on the opening lap of the race for a jump start in a season where I'm sure he'd be looking to try and regain his purple sector title, but this is not the start that he needed at all, especially when you consider that bad rounds like this are going to cost you more in a 14 round season than they would in a 24 round season. So, you know, little things like this, the smallest mistakes, can have the most majorest of ramifications compared to obviously a 24 race season. If you have one bad round, it's not really the end of the world. One bad round in a 14 round season, whole different kettle of fish. But at the moment, Justify there breezing past Matty down the straight into the hairpin. So now Justify moving up into 2nd place here on the back of Scott. Scott currently the race leader though as they come into the final corner once again. But this trio here having a great fight. Trucky here looking to pile the pressure on the back of G.C. in this fight for P5. He's looking pretty hot on him at the moment. Is he going to wait for that DRS zone down the long back straight to try and have a crack here to move up into P5? He's been running quite close for quite a few laps now. They have been dropped by Draga. Draga's now in clean air and I imagine trying to chase down the leaders on his hard tyres. Matty's still sticking to the top two on his mediums at the moment, but those mediums are going to be feeling pretty shot. Trucky's still doing a good job here of keeping to the back of G.C. on his medium tyres. But it's almost fallen out of the 1 second barrier here to the Red Bull driver. See Scott coming into the pits here at the end of lap 9. So started on the hard tyres. Let's see what he's putting on. Scott puts the mediums on, so he's getting his obligatory medium stint out of the way. And I would have thought it'd be the hard tyres for the final stint, most likely. But Justify with about a second and a half lead here over Matty Pitt at the moment, so has just settled into a bit of a rhythm out the front. He's now got a decent cushion, so you can just log the laps and just get his head down and just do what he needs to do for his race stint, really. Matty going to the end of lap 10 on the medium tyres. I would have thought we'll probably be able to one stop onto the hards at the end of this lap. As long as we don't have any safety cars, that's probably going to be Matty's aim at this point. And Justify still got to use a set of medium tyres, so we'll probably have to go to at least, I reckon, lap 17 on these hards if he wants to do a one stop. But we'll have to see. One driver we definitely know is not doing a one stop is Scott. But Justify with over a 2 second gap right now over Matty. And does Matty come in this time around? Obviously 10 laps now on the mediums. You could probably get 18 laps out of the hards, but is he going to risk it? He's coming in. So Matty now into the pits at the end of lap 10. Justify left all on his own out the front now. Draga also into the pits getting the hard tyres off, so Draga's definitely two stopping. G.C. two stopping as well, getting those hard tyres off. White Shadow staying out for the time being on the hard tyres. Scott sticking with it there on the medium tyres for the time being. Scott obviously sticking with it because he only put those medium tyres on a lap ago. But Matty Pitt has come out about 6 seconds behind Scott. Six seconds behind Scott. I think Matty Pitt must have had some damage fixed in the pits or something, because to come out that far behind Scott, I mean a one lap undercut, come on, surely that's not going to be the case. That seems a little bit bizarre to me, so I'm not quite sure what's happened there. But anyway, Matty is now over 6 seconds behind Scott on the track, and he's currently got to contend with Rexy Boy. Though Rexy Boy has got 3 lap older tyres, but he is currently on the back of him here. But wow, big surprise there to see Scott coming out so far ahead of Matty on the track. As Rexy Boy here with DRS on Matty, getting a little bit closer here into the hairpin, but not close enough at this moment in time to really put him under any significant pressure. Still close here coming to the final corner. We'll get some more DRS here to keep himself within striking distance. There's Trucky into the pits here at the end of lap 11. But for Rexy Boy here, currently about half a second off of the back of Matty at this point. Doing a good job at the moment, 3 lap older tyres. It's not going to make the world of difference, but he's certainly going to be feeling a little bit more of a challenge than what Matty is. That's a given. Street Boy's got ahead of Smart Pleasure on fresher tyres. He's got 2-lap fresher, medium tyres. Street Boy with a turbulent start to the race. I reckon probably we'll be doing 2 medium stints now. This one and then probably another one to the end of the race. Well, he could put the hards on. I suppose he's got a choice really, hasn't he? So Matty pit on the back of White Shadow. I tell you what. Oh, he's on the hard tyres, so it's not a massive surprise that he's still going on them. Matty pit up the inside into turn 1. Job done. Easy pickings there for Matty. And now we've got Rexy Boy looking to try and get involved too at the back of White Shadow, as well as Drauger. All these guys with fresher tyres. Rexy Boy with older tyres than Drauger. Drauger should be able to negotiate Rexy Boy here. But Rexy Boy first is going to try and negotiate White Shadow, who started this race on those hard tyres, which he's currently on, and there's a bit of contact there between the two of them as White Shadow there was giving the space to Rexy Boy. Rexy Boy just tapped his wheels a little bit there. And obviously when you're at this stage in a stint like White Shadow is, that any sort of contact is going to really throw you off. Those tyres are going to be hanging on at this point, and in the end Rexy Boy gets around him, so does Drauger, and White Shadow there in the end, keeping himself out of trouble. Probably just thought, you know what, it's not worth crashing out or DNFing. Might as well let these guys crack on. But Drauger here still on the back right now of Rexy Boy as they come out of the long right hander onto the back straight once again here. And you can see there you got Drauger trying to stay in the slipstream here of Rexy Boy, who's weaving around trying to break the toe. Here comes Drauger then, looks to the outside as Rexy Boy sends him round the long way. Drauger here's got a great run around the outside into the hairpin. Is he going to keep that momentum? He's off the track there, and he's made that move off of the track. And in real life F1 that would be a stonewall penalty, but in the F1 game you only get a warning for that. So he's going to make that move there off the track, and Drauger up into 4th place as a result of that. Rexy Boy's probably not going to be too chuffed with that as he looks to the inside into turn 1, but can't quite make that one happen as there's a car coming out of the pits there. That is Justify there, coming out right in the middle of them two. So Justify, who started on the hard tyres and has put the mediums on, I presume doing a 2-stop, because the mediums are not going to go 15 laps from here. So it's got to be 2-stopping at this point, I imagine. Probably 2 medium stints to the end of the race here for Justify. But that's interesting now. I mean, Justify's come out in the middle of those two, obviously was the race leader before. So now Scott is the race leader, having pitted a little bit early for the medium tyres. He's had a good first stint, currently in a very strong position right now. He's got almost a 7-second gap here over Matty Pitt. Albeit Matty Pitt can go to the end of the race. I think one stopping is Matty Pitt. Whereas Scott will have to pit again at some point, but will have faster tyres than Matty in the final stint. So we'll probably be seeing Scott chasing Matty Pitt down towards the end, and he'll be chasing a lot of them down. But I reckon the other ones are probably going to be 2-stopping as well. So Matty Pitt's going to be the hunted at the end of this race. How's it all going to work out? It's going to be fascinating to see how it all develops as we reach the halfway point here in this Chinese Grand Prix for the opening round of the Purple Sector F1 League Season 15 here on the F1 25 game. A league which I started commentating on back on the F1 2021 game. Mad to think. Yeah, Purple Sector's been around for a while, hasn't it? was commentating on Purple Sector as a little sort of a side hustle alongside my Motive F1 league and my ACC leagues and stuff, and yeah, it's gone by in a flash. But currently Scott 7 seconds clear of Matty Pitt at the moment. Matty Pitt doesn't need to pit again, so he's in a good position right now. And obviously, as this stint goes on, Matty's tyres are going to be improving in comparison to Scott's, because Matty's got a lap fresher hard tyres, the more durable hard tyre, compared to Scott, who's on the shorter lasting but quicker out of the blocks medium tyres. Justify also knows medium tyres, 3 lap fresher than Matty. He's closing in at the moment on Matty. At some point in this stint, I reckon he'll probably catch him and most likely pass him, but then later on in the stint, Matty will probably start to re-catch him again. You'll see the momentum shift a bit like a pendulum. So at this moment in time, Justify closing in on Matty. There's Trauger in the background. You got Rexy Boy and G.C. still battling over 5th place, as White Shadow has got Trucky up his inside here. And White Shadow keeping around the outside there very nicely. But Trucky's going to have the better exit out at the final corner. In fact, White Shadow's into the pits, so that takes care of that one. And White Shadow coming in at the end of lap 15. I wonder if he's going to try and go to the end on the medium tyres and do a one-stop strategy. We saw Matty do 11 laps on the medium tyres, so one would think it might be possible for him to do 17 on the hards, but it's not going to be easy. And in fact, no, he'd have to do 18 on the hards because he came in on lap 10. But I'd say it's definitely doable. Maybe he'll two-stop, maybe he'll play it safe. I don't know what the quickest strategy is, but maybe he will play it safe. He's going to be closing in on Scott for the remainder of this stint anyway. But Justify absolutely flying at the moment, almost within DRS here of Matty as they come out of the long right hander. I'll tell you what, I think he might just about have DRS here. Was he within the detection point as they crossed over that line? No, he wasn't. So Matty's safe from Justify's DRS at the moment, but Justify, if he can have a good couple of corners here, he will have the DRS down the main straight in a moment's time. Goes a bit deep there into the hairpin. Still got a good run. I think he might just about miss out on the DRS again here. It's going to be very close. Yeah, he does. So Matty throwing a bit of a lifeline there. As G.C. making a move to the inside here on Rexy Boy into turn 1. And he's done that one beautifully there as G.C. on those fresher medium tyres. Obviously at this point in the stint, those tyres are going to be pretty equal in terms of their potential, but G.C. making a lovely move there into turn 1 with the DRS, and is up into 5th place there for the time being. Justify well within a second here of Matty Pitt, piling that pressure on at this point. So here comes Justify on the back of Matty Pitt again as they come down the long back straight. There's a back marker there moving out of the way. Clen is out of the race. That's Clen's AI there. I'm not sure when that happened, but Clen is out of the race, which is an absolute disastrous start to the season for the former champion, the 2-time champion here of Purple Sector. Is going to score nil points for the first race of season 15 here. That's not the start to the season that I'm sure he wanted. We see Scott into the pits at the end of lap 17 as Matty here battling with Justify. But Justify into the lead of the race, obviously took P2, and now that becomes P1 with Scott coming in. Scott's now gone for another set of hard tyres, so an 11 lap run to the flag here for Scott. Now, does Matty need to pit again? Because he came in at the end of lap 10. It'd have to be an 18 lap run to the flag to get these hard tyres to the flag. So it's a risky one. I think it's doable, but they're going to be very worn out by the end. But Justify clearly with quicker pace than Matty at this point. More confidence in those medium tyres, which are 3 lap fresher than Matty's hard tyres at this point. But I reckon that in a few laps' time we'll start to see the pendulum swing in favour of Matty in terms of the tyre performance. Obviously, Justify at some point has got to pit here because these tyres are not going to go 15 laps to the end. The medium tyres just cannot do that. Hello, what's up? Yeah, I will. I'm busy at the moment. I won't be long. Right, so Justify with just under a 2-second gap over Matty at the moment. So he's extended the gap considerably since getting that move. Rexy boy in the pits here at the end of lap 18 with 10 laps left to go has stuck a set of hard tyres on. So over the course of this lap, Justify hasn't really extended that much over Matty Pit. Maybe now the medium tyres starting to feel the pace a little bit, and the hard tyres starting to come back to Matty Pit a little bit in comparison to Justify anyway. Gap just about 2 seconds. It's been like that since the first sector of this lap. So Justify definitely needs to pit again. Has Matty just come in? I think he might have done, you know. Yeah, Matty Pit has brought it into the pits here at the end of lap 20. So he's going to have a small tyre delta over Scott, but he's going to have lost a bit of time over this pit window here. Drauger also into the pits to get those hard tyres off. Now, what tyres are these guys putting on? Matty has gone for a set of mediums to the end. So a 9-lap run to the flag on the medium tyres. Drauger's also gone for the medium tyres. Justify currently on the medium. So Scott on the hard tyres. And Matty has come out. Oh god, Matty is 10 seconds behind Scott. So I think Scott should have this race sewn up, to be honest with you. Unless of course Justify can challenge him towards the end of the race. All depends when Justify comes in. If Justify comes in at the end of this lap, might have time to try and chase Scott down towards the end on fresher tyres. G.C. on these worn out medium tyres, doing a good job right now with a penalty obviously, and that will affect things slightly. But the battle for the win tonight very much, I think, between Justify and Scott here tonight. I think Scott's got to be, at this point, I think the favourite. There's Matty currently running a P5 on his fresh medium tyres. Surely still a podium. It's got to be possible at this point for Matty in this opening round of the season, around a track which he has won at before here at Purple Sector. As we see Truckee into the pits, so is Justify. And Justify's just come out of the pits and has come out just ahead of Matty here. So Justify 8 seconds behind Scott, the race leader. Justify on 3-lap fresher tyres, or the less durable medium tyre, but should have faster tyres than Scott all the way to the flag. Their tyres will be pretty even in terms of their performance on the last lap, but until then, Justify will have significant pace. For the next sort of 5 or 6 laps, he will have a lot more pace than Scott. So now he just needs to really try and extract that and use it to his advantage. So Gaff,
aren't you playing?
I am.
Huh?
I am.
Are you going on in the second half?
So the gap here between Scott and Justify currently just under 7 seconds. What's that, Nana?
Huh?
What's wrong?
You are or you're not?
What's wrong? What's the problem?
Eh?
What's going on? What's wrong? What can I help you with?
You what, darling?
What's the problem? What's wrong?
You're going on in the second half.
What? Going on where in the second half?
On the pitch.
Why would I be going on a pitch in the second half?
Am I supposed to be going on? I don't know what's happening. Can you move this?
No, just please, just stop. Right, so we've still got Scott leading the way at the moment by just 6 seconds over Justify. Justify is closing that gap. Justify is closing the gap quite quickly here. As G.C.'s gone ahead of Truckee with DRS into the hairpin, so that's a job done there, up into 6th place there for G.C. And Justify is starting to get into a bit of a groove now. He's really closing the gap up to Scott. But is he going to run out of laps here to do anything about it? So the gap currently between Scott and Justify 5 seconds at this point. And Justify is still continuing to bring that gap down. But I don't think he's bringing it down by enough really to be a significant threat to Scott's race lead. He's gaining by maybe about 7 or 8 tenths a lap. It's not going to be enough. And obviously his tyres are going to be wearing out quicker than Scott's as well. So I think all in all, Scott's got to be pretty comfortable at this point, as long as he doesn't bin it or make any mistakes or feel the pressure too much. This should be Scott's race to lose here in this opening round of the season. Matty Pitt's going reasonably quickly in 3rd place. Looks like a podium should be his as well, so it'll be Scott Justify and Matty Pitt on the podium here tonight. Now it's a bit of a throwback with Glenn retiring from the race with a disastrous opening lap drive-through penalty off of the line for a jump start. As we see, G.C. has got back ahead of Truckee here, up into P6. Obviously, G.C. on the hard tyres. Truckee's soft tyres are now going to be starting to feel the pace a little bit. He's trying to come back at him though, is Truckee, looking to the inside into the hairpin. G.C. misses the apex there, as I think he was expecting Truckee to be alongside him there. Gave him plenty of space. In the end, it wasn't needed. So G.C. for the time being, still staying ahead of Truckee for the time being. But Scott here about to start lap 25. 4 laps left to go here for the Chinese Grand Prix, the opening round of the Purple Sector Formula 1 League Season 15. Scott's not put a foot wrong here in this one. Has managed it very, very nicely out the front. Clearly well up for this season. And a driver who I think is, probably more than capable of taking a championship. And in these shorter seasons with 1 race per week, giving drivers a bit more time to prepare, I think this could be a really, really good opportunity this season here for Scott to challenge for a title. Was an outsider in the championship battle back in, I think it was season 12, it might be season 13, but kind of faded in the second half of the season. Looks like G.C. has managed to gap Truckee by a bit here. Over a second and a half now between them as Truckee's soft tyres, I think, are starting to fall off a bit now. 5 laps on a set of soft tyres is no joke. See John into the pits here at the end of lap 24. But leaders on lap 26 now, with Scott 4 seconds ahead of Justify. Justify still closing the gap, but not by enough. And he's running out of laps here to do anything about it. Truckee's just got the gap under a second again to G.C. So he seems to have gained a little bit over the last sort of lap or so. It seems like he's having a bit of a resurgence, although G.C. just extended the gap through this middle sector a little bit. But it's ebbing and flowing a little bit between these two. Truckee still not giving up on these soft tyres, but they're going to be absolutely shredded by this point. John's put a fresh set of soft tyres on, so is Street Boy now as well. So both of those two potentially are going to be looking to try and plumb in the fastest lap of the race before the checkered flag falls. Or maybe as the checkered flag falls. We see the race leader now, Scott, who's about to put a lap here on the... Is that the Williams of Street Boy? Yep. It's a Street Boy there. About to... Well, he'll only have to do 1 less lap if he gets passed by Scott here, so maybe he'll wave him by and say, "After you, sir." Because that'll obviously mean that he won't have to do as many laps, but I think he's actually pulling away here on these fresher tyres. So yeah, Street Boy definitely has got more pace than Scott at this point. Obviously, he's got fresh soft tyres on. Scott is on worn hard tyres, so it's no surprise there whatsoever. So Trucky's still keeping to the back of G.C. Still keeping him on his toes. It's not over yet between these two. He's still right there. So G.C. I think it's going to challenge. It's going to be challenged all the way here by the Haas driver. Trucky is going to struggle through this part of the track for grip, being on those worn out soft tyres, and just loses to DRS there, going out of the long right hander. So now he's not going to get that rear wing nor any meaningful slipstream coming down towards the hairpin. And G.C. very comfortable there. Massive lock up there from Trucky, as those soft tyres are going to be really feeling it now. He's still got to get them around one more lap here of this Shanghai International Circuit. Race leaders just finished the first sector here on his final lap of the race, as he's now starting to extend the gap to Justify. Justify was bringing it down over the last few laps, but now the hard tyres starting to be the more favourable tyre again. I was saying earlier on the last lap that Scott's tyres would start to maybe be slightly better performing than what Justify's are, and it's turned out to be the case here. Scott's definitely come back at him in terms of pace over this last lap or so, and he is going to come through the final few corners here for this Chinese Grand Prix here to kick things off for season 15. Justify pole position, maybe the start, maybe the first few laps cost him a chance of a win here. I tell you what, it's 3 seconds the gap here as they're coming down the final part of the lap, so it definitely would have been, I think Justify will be ruining that opening lap where he dropped down to P6, but for Scott it's the perfect start here to season 15, a driver who's challenged for championships before here at Purple Sector, multiple race winner, rain master. Did he rain today though? Scott comes up towards the line to take the win in Shanghai with an absolutely beautifully managed drive there. Scott takes the checkered flag to kick off season 15 absolutely on the best possible note. Justify there taking second place, the former runner-up in the championship, runner-up here tonight for the season opener. Matty Pitt completing the podium here, the former champion, with Drago over in fourth place. We've got Rexy Boy up towards the line. It's going to be P5 here for Rexy Boy, not too far ahead of G.C. who comes over in sixth. Then we've got Trucky, who's going to cross the line here in 7th place here for this one. In fact, no, P6 on the penalties. So Trucky 6th, G.C. 7th. White Shadow is just coming into the final corner now, and it's going to be an 8th place here for White Shadow Hull. And just behind him is Mark Pleasure, who's a lap down, finishes the race in 11th place. And then we've got John, a fair way behind here in 9th place. Will still score 2 championship points for his trouble though, and he's a little way ahead of Street Boy, who's on 1 lap fresher soft tyres. So John should be able to hold on here for 9th place, and I'm sure he won't be too upset with that. So here he comes through the final hairpin. And into the final corner here for John, P9, P10 for Street Boy. But it's all about Scott tonight. Tonight is Scott's night, as Scott takes the first round of the season here for season 15 here for the Chinese Grand Prix, with a very, very well managed Grand Prix. And Justify, what could have been for Justify if it hadn't been for that first lap calamity, well, getting off the line, getting into turn 1, dropping to 6th place on the first lap after getting pole. It kind of all went wrong at the start. If it wasn't for that, these two, we could have had a last lap tussle between them. But it is what it is. Scott there taking a comfortable win, but Justify was not far away. And Scott, Justify and Matty Pitt completing the podium in what's looking to be quite a competitive season here. Obviously the 2-time former champion, Glenn DNFing, having a disastrous start, getting a jump start, which cost him a chance of challenging from the get-go. But it'd be interesting to see how it all pans out over the course of the season. Still 13 races left, and obviously 1 race per week, so drivers have a bit more time to prepare for the next round. And yeah, should be a good one. And fingers crossed, hopefully they'll fill up the grid as well, because a few spots left on the grid, but I'm sure they get that sorted anyway. Matty and T, very diligent and committed to this Purple Sector F1 League. I'm sure they'll get on top of that. But anyway, thanks guys, thanks for having me, Purple Sector, and yeah, we'll see you in the next one.